Welcome to Hard Work. My name is Hard, and today's agenda will be rebasing a miniature. So, I painted these white skulls a while ago, and, I was feeling a bit lazy when I finished them. I did spend all the time on the white, and I did something just simple. It was just texture paste and pigment powder. And, while it looks fine, it's acceptable, it's not amazing. It doesn't complement the paint job as nicely as I'd like it to. So I'm thinking of rebasing these models and going with something a bit more higher contrast. So I'm going to go for a lush green. This is the Jump Pack Captain. He was a recent resculpt of the Captain. The other one is still available. It's quite a nice model. However, this is probably my least favourite model in my army. It was one of the last things I painted because he came out right as I was finishing, so I thought, I'll pick him up, but as I got to him, I just really, really couldn't be bothered. So, if I ruin him trying to remove this pigment powder, no harm, no foul, I'll get another one. I'll do a better job next time. So, yeah, let's get to it. Got myself some water, and I've got myself a brush that I don't mind being a bit rough-housed. It's got hard bristles, but not firm. So it's got that stiffness I want, but not enough to kind of scratch away paint. So I'm just going to see how this works. Dip the brush just a tad. Take off a bit of that water, and then just start poking at the pigment powder. So, I have done that for about 15 minutes, and it did diddly. Cool. The main purpose was to kind of remove some of the pigment from the white, because repainting white is an absolute nightmare. It's done our job, probably not a good one. So for now, we're just going to have to accept it and move on. So I've got these lovely basing textures from Gatehouse Gaming. Now, I've got two options here. One, I could PVA this base and just chuck it on. Or, what I'm going to do is I've got this diorama paste from Vallejo, and I'm going to use it to just cover up this base and just then chuck it on. Add a bit of colour, a bit of texture to it, try and hide some of that red. Obviously, all these lovely little details down here are going to be obscured, but that's the price we pay. So let's give this a nice go. Right, now that we've got that down, we can get started on some of the dirt effects. So we'll start with some of this Wasteland's dirt, and I will just put a little tray underneath to catch up any bits, and I'm just going to start sprinkling. So this is just going to add that bit of nice sort of texture, realism to that Wasteland dirt. Go from a bit of a flat dirt to a bit more dynamic. Add that realism to it. So let's just use our spreader to touch this up a little. And obviously any bits that are still red and exposed I can repaint. As long as all of this is sticking, we'll achieve the effect we're looking for. So just shimmy this down. Right. I'm now going to add some muddy rocks. So let's take this out, reuse that. And I think a good handful of these rocks would be nice. And let's really just press those in. Let's get them under that dirt. If anything, I probably should do the rocks first, underneath the dirt piles. So these just add a little bit of variety. So let's just get them nice and pressed in. And let's cover up that little gap there. Bit of mud. Get these nicely pressed in. Cool. And let's finish off with a little bit of crushed bone, just to go nicely with the white. So we'll very strategically place 3 pieces. Yeah, let's move you over here. And then just tidy it up a tiny bit. And then that should just add a little bit of colour. You know what? I need something else. I think I'm going to add some grass to it too. So I've also got this lush hedge. So just tear some chunks of this. Right. The lush grass was a bit too alien for my tastes. So I've decided to go with something a bit more traditional. I've gone with this flock from Army Painter. Pretty standard stuff. If I just pick out some of these brighter green bits now. It's alright, I'll clean up my table later. And then we'll just pad some of this in. And we'll leave this dry for 24 hours, because that's how long the texture paste takes to set. So if I just add a bit more fluff over here. Right, now that enough time has passed and the base is dried, I just touched up the little rock he's standing on, broken building, and I added some black pigment powder to kind of hide some of that original redness that was part of his shoes, the pigment powder. So the question is, does it actually look any better than it originally did? And I think the Mini looks so much better than it did before, and I think the key takeaway isn't that grass bases beat desert bases, it's that you need degrees of separation between your pieces. So as before, this kind of all blended into one sort of solid red. We now got 2 distinct, I guess 3 distinct sections of like rock, grass, dirt, and it really helps elevate the model because you've got less homogeneity, I think is the word. It's less homogeneous, words. It's more distinct at each part, and it just lets the model just stick out that little bit more. I do realise I forgot to mention what I actually did with the rock. It's just a layer of grey and a little dry brush of a brighter grey, and it's come out quite nicely. So this was a lot of hard work. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.